everyone. Thanks for coming to share your spark. This week we have Kathleen Gubitosi. For over 2 decades, Kathleen, who is a voice strategist and feminine power guide, has supported heart-centered feminine leaders to set their sacred message free and deeply connect with their ideal audiences. Kathleen has appeared on live and virtual stages internationally, sharing her message of empowerment through music, voice work, tarot, and other metaphysical arts. So we have included Kathleen's information in the chat. So before we get started, if you guys want to write her information down, feel free to check out the chat box. It's all there. In post-production with the video, we'll have information at the end to give you information on how to reach out to Kathleen should you want to get a private session or ask her any questions. So thanks for coming, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. I'm really excited about what Kathleen's about to share with us. So I'm just going to start by asking Kathleen to tell us a little bit about what she does, how she kind of got into this work, and maybe give us an outline of what we're in for today. Welcome, Kathleen.
Hi, Kristen. It's great to be here. What I do is singing, and I'm a music educator. I have singing students. I have public speaking students. I have students who have absolutely no interest in either one. I teach piano. I teach how to play the guitar. I perform all over the place. That's one of the ways in which I met Kristen, through performing, through her husband. And I also have done tarot and other forms of divination since I was in high school. So what I wanted to do was find a way to mix all of these things together. So that's what I did. I took a little bit of voice work, a little bit of music, a little bit of tarot, a little bit of crystals and chakra energy, and just jumbled it all together. And what we call that in magical circles is alchemy, mixing it up. And I came up with voice alchemy. So that is what I do, and that is how I brand myself, voice alchemy, and voice painting, which is something that I do with colors and voice empowerment.
Beautiful. So some of these things you came about, I'm guessing, through your own seeking and your own looking to connect with yourself and the divine a little deeper. And I'm guessing it was a long-standing journey. So you said you started getting involved in tarot when you were a kid, like high school or earlier?
Yeah, it was really in high school, and I had always been a performer, a musician. My family are musicians. My parents were music teachers. They owned a retail music business as I was growing up, so I was also always heavily involved in that. And tarot, a friend of mine had a deck of tarot cards, and I just thought it was really the coolest thing. And I said, "Oh, well, let me see those. What's all that about?" And just started reading books and learning other things. And oh yeah, see, yeah, perfect. The Queen of Swords, the Queen of Communication. And I loved astrology and mythology growing up, and ancient history, so I studied a lot of that stuff as I was growing up, and I really just enjoy it. And I like helping people. I like helping people find clarity and steps to move forward. So a lot of what I do is channeling a woman's own energy into her work in the world, whether it's with her family or whether it's with her business, or some people are performers.
So finding the voice not only as a performer, but just in your life. Can you speak to why we may have our own ideas of why that's important, but can you speak to why it's important for a woman to find her voice in any other field besides performance?
Sure. Most of us are socialized. I don't know if you're maybe about my age or not, but we're socialized to be quiet, and we're told as children to be quiet and not speak up. And a lot of us have a hard time finding role models, which is one of the reasons why I liked ancient history, because there were a ton of powerful female role models. And even from my church life growing up, Mother Mary was always a very strong role model. I don't understand why some women would look at her and think of her as weak, but I know that they do. And I see her as a very strong person who, as a a young woman was called upon and visited by an angel to say, this is your mission in the world. And she took that on and went out to do it. But in generations after, we've been told, kind of take the back seat, be quiet, make everybody else happy. That's how I was socialized. You know, children should be seen and not heard for the most part. Not that mom and dad weren't loving, because they were. But also to do nice things for my significant other all the time. Put other people first. Put mom and dad first. Put your kids first. Put the people that you meet in the world. Put your clients first, ahead of yourself. And that just adds to our stress, and it gets more and more and more and more and more. And then eventually we break at some point. And a lot of the women that I've worked with are really at that breaking point. They're either afraid to speak up because they've let the behaviors go on for so long. They don't know where to start. Or they're just so angry at themselves and frustrated at themselves that they can't speak up. They don't know how to speak up. And other people, they just want to be able to be heard in a conversation. Have you ever been in a conversation with people, everybody's talking and you're trying to get a word in and you just can't? It's as if you're invisible. So I have some of that too, along with anxiety, stage fright issues in a professional environment, but just regular human anxiety. So those are some of the reasons that women will come to me for help.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I find it so interesting, the culmination of all the bits that have come into the constellation of who you are and what your work is. As different healers come through different work, and why we go to different healers for different reasons, or several healers for several different reasons to kind of help us. The wounds are deep, right? As the female, the collective wounds are fairly deep, and it is a sacred time. A lot of people are saying that this is the moment where the sacred feminine is reawakening, and it is very timely. This work is very timely. So appreciate you being here and sharing what you've learned and your perspectives, and what you've kind of gleaned from that, and what gifts have waken up in you from that as well. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us a little bit about what the tarot, the crystals, how that's going to support, and maybe that'll bring us into the offering for today. And then, we'll have whatever experience you're going to guide us through. And then of course, after that, we can have time for question and answer. So yeah, the tools, how do the tools support the work?
So the tools support the work in that they bypass a lot of the anxiety and a lot of the social stigma that we have around voice and using our power in any way. So I have my crystals here. It's just a visual of your chakra system, right? So the root, the sacral chakra, and on and on and on. And your throat chakra is right here. Well, none of your chakras exist in isolation. They're a system, just like your regular physical systems. They all work together. So like holiday lights, one of them goes out, they all go out. And sometimes you think you have a problem with your voice, but your problem's really not with your voice. Your problem is with security, or stability, or it's with self-love, or it could be with trusting yourself, trusting your intuition and your connection to your higher power. Or it could be an empowerment issue. And I try to talk to the women and use visuals like this to explain what's going on with them. So all of the crystals have metaphysical properties. This is a green apatite. Actually, it was a gift from one of my clients. And green apatite is good for shedding things. And it's kind of hard to see, but it's really pretty in person. But it's green, and it's very good for shedding, releasing things. And sometimes I just have people hold it so that they can interact with the vibration. And then we just make sounds. So one of the other things that people have trouble with is singing, because they think that singing is singing and speaking is speaking. But now I'm singing, now I'm speaking. Now I'm speaking, now I'm singing. Okay, well, the first thing that we have to break down there is that it's all the same. Singing is no different than speaking. And another wound that many of us have is that somebody somewhere along the line told us you can't sing, meaning you can't use your voice right. Another way of keeping you quiet. So to integrate the voice, you need to shed some of these ideas. So a lot of times we'll start out just holding the crystal and allowing the vibration to be felt. You can also use our tuning forks to amplify the vibration of the crystal. And then make sound along with vibrating the crystal. And that's just humming. We can all hum, right? There's no pressure in humming. Anybody ever felt any pressure in humming? No, we hum to ourselves all the time. Well, there's nothing different between humming or singing or speaking. It's all enacting your voice and getting your story out into the world and spreading your fantastic energy with other people. Now, the interesting thing about humming is that humming is a great place to find what's known as your optimal pitch range. And your optimal pitch range can help you in a number of ways. Very often, women are told, if we want to sound sexier, we need to drop our voice into our chest. Anybody ever heard that? We've all, right? Yeah, we've heard that. We've read that in women's magazines. And I get so mad. Every time I read that, I'm like, that's just so wrong. Women aren't supposed to sound like this. There's very few women that are supposed to sound like this. Some people do have that range, and that's natural for them. But the average woman sounds a lot like I do right now. And I think I sound sexier and more fun and more full of life just speaking right here. But we're so busy saying, I have to sound authoritative, that I take all that vibrancy and all that love that I have and I dampen it. And I hold it down. And that also hurts you in terms of getting your voice forward to be heard either in a group, in a loud situation, and really making your point. How many of us have ever been to a wedding where the music was really, really loud? It's okay, I've sung at weddings, I know we're loud. And you say, I can't hear the person next to me. Well, what's the next thing you do? You try to lip read. Lip reading is great, right? We try to figure out the words. I still can't hear people. By the end of the night, you're hoarse, right? So the first advice is, one, don't try to compete with the amplifiers because you just can't. Try to work on some gestures to get things going. But find your optimal pitch range. And this comes in handy in the age of coronavirus. Because if you're not speaking at your optimal pitch range, so you already sound cloudy, and I sound more cloudy to you than I did just a second ago, right? My voice is further away than it was a second ago. So you can hear the difference. So now I'm not talking at my optimal pitch, and now I'm going to put my mask in front of my face. And now, can you hear anything that I'm saying? I'm not changing my volume at all. My volume's exactly the same as it was before I put the mask on. But you can't hear me, can you? And this is what's going to happen when we go out shopping. So now, if I talk at my optimal pitch, my voice is automatically, without any extra work, brighter, lighter. It's got a higher vibration because it's just coming from me, from my natural self. People hear it more clearly, and I don't have to try so hard to be heard. So if I want to talk through my mask using my optimal pitch range, you can hear me now, right? May not be the best because I'm not working on my enunciation, but you can hear me a lot better than you could if I was pretending to be somebody else. Right? So an easy way that you can find your optimal pitch range at home is by humming. Most of us automatically go to our optimal pitch range. So if you want to sing happy birthday at home, chances are you're picking your body's favorite notes. your body's home base for speaking, singing, any type of vocal communication. Another high-tech training aid. I'm not saying eat all the potato chips, but I'm big on high-tech training aids. If you were to talk really, really low and just start low and count high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you can hear the resonance change inside the tube when you hit notes that are in your optimal pitch range. So this is something else that I use in my office that people wouldn't normally think of. I use this personal steamer too, so anybody that steams every day or nearly every day, it's a good thing to do. I have allergies, so be careful not to put your face way in there because it can get really hot and you can hurt yourself. But I do this steam probably about 5 minutes a day. In the morning I turn on the steam and just in the shower and let it run and let the room get foggy. And then I go in and I just breathe in the steam. I can make the shower a little cooler to get in it, but I breathe in the steam, and that brings moisture into your vocal cords. Now, drinking all the water you want, that's lovely. That's wonderful. I got my water right here. See, I got my stars and my moon cup, but this is not getting anywhere near my vocal cords, I can tell you that. Why? Because it's going down the other pipe. Because you have one pipe for swallowing liquids and one pipe for air. So as much water as you drink while you're up talking in front of people, it's wetting your mouth up so that your mouth doesn't get dry. But it's not going anywhere near your vocal cords. So it's important to hydrate a lot. And the steam can go places where this water can't go. Especially, a lot of us are not traveling right now. But when you do travel, I've been on an airplane. When you're on an airplane going to the West Coast for hours, the air is very, very dry. First thing you do when you get into your hotel room is turn on the shower in the bathroom and close the door. It makes your own little steam room. Unpack some of your clothes and then go sit in the bathroom for like 5-10 minutes. Close your eyes because the steam's not really great for your eyes. And inhale the steam and get that moisture back into your throat. It's supposed to be nice and moist in there. When it gets dry is when you get problems. So hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. If you are speaking, if you're somebody who stands up and does speaking engagements or is talking with clients all day, up your water intake. Make it a regular part of your routine. If you're singing on the weekends, I know Kristen does this, I do this, up your water intake 2 days before. Having a couple of extra glasses of water. Because it's that water, the stored water in your body, that's going to get you through your performance. Just like eating protein before you go out on stage. Because it's you get long usage out of that type of a meal. So those are some helpful hints. And you know, the third way to help you find and maintain your optimal pitch range, you know when your significant other or somebody else that you really are not listening to is talking to you, and they're going on and on and on, and they're doing this, right? They're doing this. They should be doing this, right? They should be quiet, but they're doing this. And what are you doing? You're making the sound. Yeah. You can do and then find that same note. Mom. And then practice finding it. And then you'll be at your optimal pitch range. It takes some practice, but you don't have to be perfect at it. And it's not any one singular note that is most powerful for you. It's a range of notes. So because you don't want to pick just one note and then end up sounding like a computer either, because that's boring. But those are a couple of natural things that are not very expensive that you can do to help make yourself sound more powerful and be heard in a room and communicate better, especially through your mask. Now, we were talking about being at a wedding or some other live event. We can't hear people that are talking to us. And we tend to lip read. But now I'm wearing my mask, so you can't read my lips, right? So your other person in the conversation can't read your lips. So what do you need to do? You need to over-enunciate. So you find your optimal pitch. You over-enunciate your words. Has anyone ever watched public television and seen the opera ladies? Right? Okay? They are over-pronunciating their words, like infinitesimally. And that's what you need to do when you have your mask on. Slow down how fast you talk when you are in a store. And really, this is all the cleanup work. The sound is here. Without the breath, you don't have any sound. So I know that other people here have taught meditative exercises, belly breathing, things like that. You want to use all of those muscles with good air on your optimal pitch and all of the cleanup stuff that we have with our lips and our teeth and our tongue working inside our mouth. And we really over-enunciate everything. And you can hear me quite clearly through my mask, can't you? So this will cut down on hoarseness. I have a lot of people calling me now and sending in questions about I'm hoarse because I'm talking through the mask when I'm at work. Maybe they work in a medical situation or they have to wear a mask all day. Or maybe they're another type of essential worker like my sister is, who's wearing a mask all day. And she's like, I'm worn out. I don't want to talk when I get home at the end of the day. I'm done. You know, her fiance is like, why don't you want to talk to me? She's like, I've been talking to customers all day. Leave me alone. Right? So we can all kind of relate to that. But if you take these couple of tips, just professional voice tips, they will help a lot and help your voice go a long way. Now, another crystal that I use a lot with people is green calcite. So we talked about the green apatite. I use a lot of green stones. You would think I use a lot of blue stones, but I use a lot of green stones. Now, why is that? Well, we use green stones because green and sometimes pink, maybe rose quartz, is connected to your heart chakra. So before you can communicate anything, you need to know what's in your heart. And where do our hurts usually go? Our hurts go to our heart. And where's your voice? Right here, right next to your heart. So your energy's coming up through your body, right? And it wants to come out here. Just a visual of how your body works. And it can't get through, it gets stuck. Now some people say, okay, you can do that with meditation, you can visualize speaking, and that does help. But you actually have to make sound. But many people can't make sound because they're still storing all of those hurts that said be quiet. And we don't want to hear from you. And you're a woman and you're not important. So that's why I use a lot of the green stones. And green calcite is known as one of the master healer stones. So it has a very good vibration, can work all over the body. So we just kind of hold on to it. And then we hum and we make some noise. Because my belief, is not everybody's belief, but my belief is that you can't really activate your throat chakra without sound. Because it is the chakra of sound. That's its function. And yes, we can do things to put sound on your body and transmit through your body. But I also believe that the most powerful thing you can do comes from inside you. The most powerful healing you can give yourself does not come from somebody else putting something on you. It's going to come from what's inside you in terms of speaking from your heart, opening your heart up, and making the sound yourself. I also believe that the throat chakra is your center, not only for your divine communication, because it's channeling through your third eye and your crown chakra, but I believe it to be the chakra of creativity. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, the sacral chakra, that's the birthing channel, right? And, womb space and all that. And yeah, I get that. But you know what? The universe brings you your desires based on your voice. If it's metaphysical, your voice, putting prayers, thoughts, wishes out there in the world. My belief is that it starts here in your throat chakra. This, the womb space, the birthing space, that's the result. So it happens after you have to put the wish out there. You have to have a desire for something. So your desire speaks to your voice chakra, your throat chakra, puts that request out there to the universe, and then it sends it back. So you have this eternal loop of energy. So a lot of people wonder, well, why can't I manifest anything? I'm doing a lot of sacral chakra work. Okay, well, you're missing part of the channel. Okay, because it goes from here, I have my desire, I come up here, I give voice to my desire, which is something that we get stuck on a lot. I don't want to ask for things. But you have to ask for it. If you have to write yourself out a script of what you want at home and practice it, do it. I've done it. If you have to have a difficult conversation with somebody at work or at your home, write down what you want to say. Practice saying it. Keep your notes with you when you have the conversation. And I tell people to do that when they go to see their doctors too. Because you get there and you get all nervous. And you get involved in some other kind of situation and you forget. Oh, this is what I thought of at home, right? Well, I've done that plenty of times. So if you cut out part of the channel, one light goes out, they all go out. So then you're not manifesting what it is that you want in your life because you can't give voice to it. Does that make sense? So I don't know how many people know about tarot as opposed to other oracle card systems. But the tarot is actually a card system, and let me move my key. And I mean that in that it has a definite size and shape, and a definite way in which it works together. A tarot deck consists of 78 cards. It's always 78 cards. There are different suits of cards, much like a playing card deck. So in regular playing cards, you have diamonds and clubs and spades and hearts. And in tarot, we call them something different. We just call them swords and wands and cups. Oops, get in there. And pentacles. And if you don't know what a pentacle is this little coin right here. It's a little circle with a star in it, okay? And it looks like a coin. Now, some people look at it and say, oh, it's a pentagram, but no, a pentagram, yeah, but a pentacle is a coin. And the pentagram is a 5-pointed star. And the 5-pointed star represents the elements of the earth and yourself as a human being. So you have earth, air, fire, and water, all of those elements that we have. If anybody has a home altar for doing metaphysical work, you usually have all 4 elements on there, right? So those are the 4 elements that make up our physical world. And then the 5th point is you, yourself, and your spirit. Now the magic of the pentacle is not necessarily in the pentacle itself and looking at the star there, but it's the star that's in the coin. The coin is the universe. That's the circle of the universe. And then these are all of the elements of the universe, including yourself as a human. So we have 4 suits. We also have a royal family, like this is the King of Pentacles. There's also a Queen of Pentacles. There's a Knight of Pentacles, like a Jack, a Queen, or a King in a regular playing card set. Now, if we take this and we juxtapose it with, oh, there we go. Oh, and then we have aces too. The Ace of Wands. Lots of creativity. And then we have another system that overlaps this. Now, some of you may have seen these also. And these are what they call the major arcana cards in no particular order. This is the Lovers. Here we have Adam and Eve, the Garden of Eden. We got the tree. We have the serpent there. We got a burning bush on the other side. And then we have the Archangel. Many people say that that's Archangel Raphael blessing the couple. We have a Fool. Anybody ever heard of Joseph Campbell and the Mythic Hero's Journey? Okay. And Kristen saying yes. So the part of the tarot called the Major Arcana outlines the mythic hero's journey. He starts out as the Fool. He's a benevolent fool. He's a blessed fool. And he's free. And he's standing right on the precipice of a new journey. So it's very important to look and see what's actually happening. Because people will say, oh, he's walking off a cliff. Is he walking? Is it a he? Is it a she? Do we know? Looks androgynous to me. Not jumping off a cliff. Just kind of standing there, getting ready. Maybe getting ready to take a leap and start that amazing journey. And along the way, our mythic hero meets different characters. And these are just some pictures of the other ones that are in the deck. But so we have a charioteer. We have strength. We have a woman. She's taming a lion. Boy, she must be really strong. And those are the great archetypes that have come to us throughout history. And if I were just to show this to you and you knew nothing else about it aside from the fact that I told you it looks like Adam and Eve, right? You would probably be able to figure out, well, there's a couple, there's a serpent, oh, it's some kind of a creation myth. Based on the fact that you just happen to be alive at this point in time. Because that's part of our collective consciousness. So every tarot deck has this series of cards about the mythic journey, along with cards of our everyday life, like our Queen of Wands here. She could be a person in your life. She could be you. She could be me. She could be a situation. But she exists. Now, if I told you that this was a hermit, would you have an idea of who this person was? Just from being alive today. Oh, yeah, okay, hermit. Oh, long robes, carrying a lantern. Must be some kind of spiritual leader, I think. Maybe teacher? Right. So every tarot deck has this same makeup, as opposed to an oracle deck. Now, this is the Invoking the Goddess Oracle in Action by Lisa de Saint Croix. There are no set numbers in an oracle deck. It could be as many cards as you want. It could be 10 cards. It could be 50 cards. Sometimes people like 44. They like 44 cards. Ah, Baba Yaga, there she is. It could be any design you want. The goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity. Brigid, the Celtic goddess. She's a goddess of fire and water, ironically enough. There are a lot of goddesses of both fire and water, both strong transformational forces. But Lisa designed this. She did all the original art. She's a professional artist. But there's no set number. It doesn't even tell me how many cards are here. Let's see. Oh, 33. She likes 33. Some people like 44. Some people like 88. It doesn't matter. It could be any design you want. They don't have to be circles. I just like these. I love the colors. I love the art. Ooh, the Norns from Norse mythology, weaving the thread of life. So I just happen to like this one, so I wanted to share this one with everybody. But that's an oracle deck, and on the back of it, what she's done is she talks a little bit about who the different goddesses and archetypes from mythology are. She usually gives a little poem, and then she gives an action step, which I'm big on. I'm big on action steps because you know what? If I'm going to go to somebody for advice, I want to have a clue as to what I should do next. And sometimes people are afraid, like we talked about, to talk about what's in their heart. So this is a great way to find out. This is radiating light, Amaterasu, the Japanese goddess of the sun. All right? Let yourself succeed. Radiate your gifts out into the world. So if somebody's looking for a little bit of bolstering, some self-confidence, and pulls this card, they say, oh, okay, all right, let's work on that today. Let's work on some confidence exercises. How can we build confidence in your voice if you're not used to using it? And then that gives me, as the teacher, a way to go and say, okay, I know what exercises we can do for today. So that's what all of these tools, here we go, come together for. And the Eight of Wands is about swiftness. It's literally called swiftness. And all of these wands here, wands represent your ideas, your creativity, going out into the world, that fire energy. So you are, oops, back here with the fire goddess, right? The goddess of the sun. And here we are. We got all of our fire things flying through the air, all those javelins going. Lots of projects in the works, lots of projects. And life is moving really fast. And the interesting thing is, I was going to say people see almost immediately results, so it's interesting. Of course, there are no coincidences that this card came up. So, if that came up in a reading, I would say that, let's see if I can pull out the same ones. All right, let's try these. Da-da-da. What I do with the tarot cards is I align them with what I call the voice elements, because we already know that earth has elements, right? Earth, air, fire, water, and our spirit. So we have those 4 sets of, where is it, of the tarot, and 4 suits here. I'm looking for it. Where are you? You popped out earlier. I know you want me to find you. There you are. Okay. And what I do is I relate them to different aspects of how you use your voice. So I don't know about you, but I always start things in the east, the land of the rising sun. Hence, the sun goddess again. Yes, a message, definitely a message for me today. And the east is the land of the suit of swords. Swords oversees your communication, your thoughts, your ideas, getting them out into the world. And in terms of your voice, I relate the east and the swords to your melody and also the growth cycle. So this is like the baby steps. And I use a lot of embryonic sounds with people when they're starting to use their voice. Yawning, sighing, those are all the sounds that babies make when they're learning how to speak. And then that takes people back. So this is how you use your melody. Then we move to the south and the realm of fire. And this is the wand, right? So it even looks kind of phallic there, right? Because it can have to do with, vitality and your life force, your fire, your passion. And they've used this piece of wood with some leaves on it, right? And you see leaves. And again, it's a divine gift. You see the hand coming out of the cloud. And I relate that to rhythm in your life. Because once you learn to talk a little bit, then you get out, you start moving with the rhythm of life. What happens next in your hero's journey of development? Oh, I gotta meet other people. And you get to the land of the West, and the land of the West is the land of water, and the transformative force of the water has to deal with your emotions. Whenever you see a body of water, it means that your emotions are involved, right? So, you know, which body of water do you like? Do you like the ocean? Do you like the lake? Do you like the waterfall? These are all little quizzes we used to take as kids to identify where you were on the emotional spectrum. So this is your land of emotional intelligence. I started talking. I got my own melody going. I'm moving with the rhythm of life. And oh my gosh, I need to learn how to get along with other people. And that's what this realm is all about. And it's something that we didn't talk about really in your voice work, is how do you unblock those emotions to get your voice out there. And again, I'll circle back to this and talk about that in an easy way that you can do that and take some of the fear out of speaking to others. And then the last one is the pentacles. Here again we have the pentacle. We have the star, which represents the circle is our universe. That's our universe. And this is Earth inside the universe with people. And I like the Magic Garden. So I always think of this as the Magic Garden card. And you'll notice the one thing that's different about this card from the other three cards is that the sword has these little things falling from the sky, right? They look like little flames, yeah? And the wand, the rhythm of life, has little leaves falling, right? Oh, gee, you know what? They look very similar in shape to the flames from the sword. Oh my gosh. And then we look over here, and we look at the cup. And this is the cup of blessing, of universal love, right? And again, we have the same thing. That same symbol falling from the sky. And what those are, the shape of those, they are known as yods, Y-O-D-S. And yod is a Hebrew letter. It's the first letter of the name of God. So these are blessings falling from your higher power. However you relate to God, Goddess, higher power, source of all creation. This one doesn't have those. Now, why doesn't it have those? It doesn't have it because it doesn't need them. Because it's all, that's the magic of the star in the circle. Is that you are now, today, living with all of the blessings of the higher power around you. You just have to open your eyes and see it. There is something in metaphysical life that people talk about a lot. We talk about the land of below and the land of above, right? As if they are two separate things. But the truth is that they're not two separate things. They're all together. The world of as above, so below is one world. You just have to be able to open your eyes, your intuition, be a channel, use your voice, and put it to use in your life. That's how intuitive reading works. That's how mediumship works. Because we're all still here. Love never dies. This making sense? Okay. So sometimes people can't voice what they want or what they need. We know that. And pictures can help. Now each one of these suits tells a story. They tell the story of your communication life, the life of your personal melody. They tell the story of the life of your work life, your creative life, your vitality, Oop, oh my. And they don't always talk about things that are happy. So some people like to see happiness. I like to see happiness. We all like to see happiness. And sometimes people are afraid of the tarot because they say, oh, well, it's dark, it's scary, you know, it's mean. They're used to seeing things like this. Well, who wants to be this person? Nightmares, right? Again, we're back to archetypes. Without knowing anything, if you knew nothing, you would know that this is a nightmare card, right? This woman is up late at night. Now, Rachel Pollack has a great story about this card. She was diagnosed with cancer when she was about 15 years old, and they thought it was bone cancer, which is usually terminal. And they kept it from her. And they told her that it was some kind of a calcium deposit that they were going to operate on. And unbeknownst to her, her mom and dad, they were praying every night, you know, for her healing. And so whenever she talks about this card in terms of, she says, this must have been my mother. This must have been what my mother was going through. Right? Because these are things that happen to us. The tarot is just about life. It's the sad things as well as the happy things. Here we are, we're partying, we're online. Meeting new people, having a great time, learning new things, right? Maybe why not have a drink? I don't know, I'm gonna have a drink. Here we go. Yay! Cheers! And thank you all for joining me, because this is a lot of fun. And then sometimes we get into arguments with people. Sometimes we win the argument, sometimes we don't. They're just all different scenes of life. So if you've ever been afraid of tarot, I'm just trying to say that there's nothing to be afraid of. A lot of what we fear is either the unknown or some way in which it's been portrayed in a movie. Where we see things like, oh my gosh, maybe not that one. Well, I was talking about that one last night. But, where is it? It's in here. I know, they're all in here because they have good and bad in here. We have this one. Oh gosh. Now, this is the devil. Does this look familiar to any of the other cards we looked at earlier? I don't know. Looks like Adam and Eve to me again. But Adam and Eve are having a hard time. How many of us have ever had a hard time in our relationships? Me, I know I have. It's not all happiness in the Garden of Eden. Anybody that's been together with someone else for a long time knows that. Right? So, nothing to be afraid of here. In fact, if we look really closely to the hand position of the devil character here, he's doing, the Vulcan sign, live long and prosper. Okay? Now, for those of you who are Trekkies, you will know that was part of Leonard Nimoy's Jewish heritage, the live long and prosper sign. And that's a blessing that's given usually with both hands by the rabbi on certain high holy days in the Jewish calendar. So even though this couple's going through a hard time, they are still blessed. Now they can decide if they want to be chained together in this darkness of the unknown, or if they want to move into the sun. But I like to say, well, it's only temporary. And this is related to the sign of Capricorn. That's why he looks like a goat, because it's Capricorn. And the planet Saturn, which is a planet of restrictions. It's also the planet of structure. So if you want to get to where you're going, you want to go by steps, step by step by step by step by step. You may not like all the steps, just like you may not like those dark times in your relationship. But if you want to have the happy times, you got to have the sad times. So sometimes people say, well, yeah, you know what? I've been stuck. Oh, I got the devil card. I've been stuck. All right, well, you're taking yourself a little too seriously, maybe? Maybe you are. Maybe you need to loosen up a little bit. Let go with the chains. A good reading that one of my teachers taught me is something that she called the voice in the card reading. Now, you can go to tarot readers and they can put out a whole bunch of cards on the table. Depends on what they're using. There's a lot of different tarot layouts you can use. And you can go to another tarot reader who will only pull out one card and tell you a heck of a lot with just one card. So, this is the Queen of Pentacles. Ironically enough, she is also connected to the sign of Capricorn. Now, she's the Queen of Wealth, the Queen of Abundance. You see the little bunny? Those of you who know, springtime, bunnies, Ostara, fruitfulness, abundance in all of its forms. Very peaceful again in the magic garden she's sitting, right? She's got it. She realizes all the blessings of her life, that she's cradling it. So much like a baby. And she's worked hard to get there. Because Capricorn is a methodical sign. And what my teacher said was, if you looked at the card, and you just kind of look at it, and see what catches your attention. I'm trying to avoid the lights here. You see what catches your attention. It may not be the first thing that pops out to you. But if you look at it and you see something that captures your attention, it might not even be a whole thing. It may just be part of it. That one thing, that one element of the card has a message for you. Now, I have an interesting story about how that worked for me. Now, I am always the Queen of Pentacles, just so you know. The Queen of Pentacles always shows up in a reading for me, and they always say, this is you here. Well, because I also have a life that deals a lot with money, and I deal with other people's money. But I also have a very, very blessed life. Now, she's also very much connected to hearth and home. And this is the card I wanted. Yes, the Magician. It's amazing how they just pop out whenever you need them. And look, they're both there. They both have yellow. Yellow is the color of the ether, that magical, invisible space between the atoms from which our wishes and our prayers are answered. They're wearing the same color. Gosh. Now, the Magician is here in the garden with a table. And on the table, what do we see? We see representatives of all the elements. We see a sword for air. We see the wand for fire. We see the cup to hold the water. And we see the pentacle, which represents the earth and where we live. We also have the lemon skate, the infinity sign, and channeling from above to below, and the Ouroboros, the great snake, and the roses. Now, she doesn't have all those other tools. All she's got is her pentacle. But I gotta tell you, I think the pentacle is more powerful all by itself. Because remember, the pentacle has everything inside it. And I didn't always like her because she always also represents, home and decorating. And I'm not a decorator, and making things really pretty at home and being nice to people all the time. And I'm really nice to people all the time. Sometimes I can be really mean. And she's kind of quiet and understated. And me, I'm like, no, I want to be out there. I want to be on stage. Give me my wigs and my makeup and all that kinds of stuff. That's who I want to be. But I've really come to appreciate her in my life. So, you're allowed to change your mind. And that's the Wheel of Fortune. So what goes up must go down. What goes down must come up. And if I were to say, well, okay, you got the Wheel of Fortune, so how are we going to work on this in terms of releasing your voice? Well, what have you been doing? Well, I've been writing out my script and practicing at home. Okay, great. Now throw out your script and just tell me what you want to say, because it's time. Oh, I don't know how to do that. Sure you do. You practice it at home. Just tell me what you've been practicing. This person's trying to balance a lot of things. Okay, well, maybe we need to look and see what type of repertoire we're looking at. Have we been working on your business life, but really your relationship is where you need to speak up? Or have we been working on your relationship talk and you really need to focus on your business? Or is it different people in your life? Or is it your financial life that you're afraid of? Now, finances are a big thing for women. A lot of us, we don't like to talk about our financial life, but it's very, very important that we do that. So when I was talking about the different directions and the different voice elements, I stopped at the element of water, and we talked about our emotional life. So our emotional life is something that's transmitted in our voices. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Your voice is a physical feature that has an immediate emotional effect on other people. Immediately. You ever walk into a room and you hear somebody's voice and it sounds like it's on chalk? You ever have somebody yell at you? That created an immediate emotional response, didn't it? Right? Have you ever yelled at somebody else and said, "Hey, get out of there. What are you doing?" That creates an immediate emotional response in the other person. And it's something that we're really not aware of. Now, when you want to use this consciously, what do? Well, when you want to use it consciously, you take a look at where you are and which emotion you want to portray. Do you want to portray being very bold? Do you want to portray being sad? Are you kind of in the middle of the road and are you trying to help somebody? These are usually the roles that we take in life. We're either the victor, the loser, or the mediator. More often than not, women are the mediators. Trying to make everybody happy, right? Not always succeeding, but we try. And if I want to create the feeling of being happy, a phrase that we have in the English language that may come to mind might be tickled pink. If I'm jealous of somebody, I might say I'm green with envy. If I want to say that I am sad, maybe I'm blue. So not only are the great archetypes of the tarot and the mythic hero's journey embedded in our consciousness, but so are colors and how you use the colors. So I had a student one time and she said, I want to feel more confident. Okay. So I had her imagine, what color do you think of? Just close your eyes. When you think of confidence, what color? I said to her. And she closed her eyes and she said orange. I said, okay. Being a chakra girl, I said, all right. Sacral chakra, all about confidence, blah, blah, blah. This is great, right? She's tuned in. Well, I said, close your eyes and now speak to me. Say the same thing that you wrote out that you practiced. And say it and imagine that your voice is sending out the color orange. It's not sending out confidence because that's a feeling you can't really relate to right now. But you can relate to the color orange because it's a crayon in your deck, right? She's like, yeah. I said, okay, so close your eyes and imagine that you're singing the color orange. And it changed immediately what she said. It changed immediately how her performance went. This particular person wanted to sing and she wanted to get a lead in the show. She didn't get the lead in the show, but she got called back, which was the first time she ever got called back. Now again, I thought she was talking about the sacral chakra, confidence, having your female mojo going. No. She came up with orange because the girl in school who got the lead role in all the plays was a strawberry blonde. Orange hair. So we have a universal consciousness of what the color orange means, and we have a personal meaning. So I might say, well, confidence is purple. It's my favorite color. So I'm going to imagine that I'm imparting the color purple right now. If I were working with somebody who was chasing off their customers are running away. Literally. Yes, she was very sad. Yes, she was. And her customers were all, they loved her work. But as soon as they got too close to her, they would all back away and be like, okay, see you later, bye. Why? Because she was talking to them just like I did, just now. With the very loud voice, a little bit too much. But they loved her product. And I said, well, how do you want to sound? She says, well, I want to sound competent and professional. But she couldn't relate to competent and professional because she was an artsy-fartsy person, like me. And she thought that confident and professional only belonged in an office. So she didn't have a way to relate to how to sound confident and professional. So again, we did the color theory. And we said, well, what color do you think of when you imagine confident and professional? And she said blue. I said, okay, well, keep your eyes closed. And I'm going to pretend I'm a customer. And I said, okay. Hi, Lisa. How are you? I really like this wreath. And she said, oh, I'm so glad that you like that one. We did this role playing with her eyes closed. And her voice instantly changed because she could relate to blue because she understood what blue meant to her. Whereas she had no point of reference for competent and professional in an artsy-fartsy world. Because she associated that mode of speech with somebody who worked in an office space. Does anybody have any questions, thoughts, anything at all? I know I'm just talking and giving you a lot of stuff.
If anybody has a question, just raise your hand. We'll go one at a time. If anybody has a question about tarot, crystals, color painting, finding your voice, specific, general.
Yeah, it's all about love. It's all about the love.
So, Kathleen, is there a way we could do... Oh, Audrey has a question. Go ahead, Audrey.
Very interesting. I was just going to ask about the artwork on the tarot cards.
Yes.
Is that standard? I mean, the artwork is the same. It's and who created the artwork?
Okay.
And when did it originate, the tarot cards?
Well, the tarot cards themselves originated several hundred years ago, and they were created as a game called Triumphi, and you would almost play kind of like bridge. If anybody plays bridge, so it was a team card game. And the trump cards are all of those major archetype cards that we were talking about before. And the pictures have changed over the years. These are the most standard ones that are used today. This is the Waite-Smith Tarot, sometimes called the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. Rider was the publisher. Waite was the mystic who dictated the elements that belonged in each card and set the intention for each card. And Pamela Coleman Smith was the actual artist. And she grew up in Jamaica. She lived in Jamaica, the island. She lived for a time in New York. She went to the Pratt Institute. She was a graduate of fine arts from the Pratt Institute right here in New York. And she worked at a very young age in the theater, painting sets for plays. And she knew many famous artists, poets. Ellen Terry was a famous actress at that time, and she knew her very well. And so she got a lot of jobs working in the theater. And she needed some money, and Waite needed an artist. So she said, okay, well, I'll paint these for you. And she didn't make very much money off of them at all. In fact, she died in poverty, as so many artists do. But this is the most famous thing that she did with her life. She was also a storyteller, obviously, and an actress. She was a published author. She ran her own newsletter, The Green Sheaf. Her favorite color was green. That's why the back of these cards are green. This is the Centennial edition of Pamela Coleman Smith. And most of your modern tarot decks follow this style. Depending on which artist you look at, most of them are based on this system because it's the most widely known system. Now, this is not the most culturally diverse deck. We'll be the first to admit that, right? Everybody's got the same skin color. Some of them are readily identifiable as male or female. But there are some that are not. And that may be a woman. All right, that's the Sun card from Lisa de Saint Croix's Tarot. The Saint Croix Tarot. And here are two mermaids. But they're the Two of Cups. So if you were to compare them to this one, you would still see the same idea. Where is our friend? Oh, here's our friend from earlier, the Devil. He looks a little different. But it's the same idea. Because the majority of tarot decks are based on this system. There is another tarot system, very popular tarot system called the Thoth Tarot, which was designed by Aleister Crowley and Lady Frida Harris. Lady Frida Harris did all of the artwork. And I don't have mine here. I have one, but I didn't bring it with me. Oh, this is a sad one. Somebody was sad. But it looks just like, if I can find it, the one that's in here. Ah, yeah. So they're a little different, but if you know what one means, you know what the other means, right? So that's where intuitive reading in terms of tarot comes out with. Because you look at the symbols, you relate them to the cosmic consciousness that we all have, the universal consciousness, what we understand from being alive today, and our own personal interpretation. And then you can go a bit further, like I said, and say, well, okay, well, I know that this represents our thoughts. So we notice in both pictures, none of the swords, there's no blood. The heart is not bleeding. This is somebody who is going over and over and over again in their head about the same things. And we could also say that that's related to a certain zodiac sign and a certain element, and get deeper and deeper and deeper into all the little symbols that exist there. But the majority of them do all look the same. Let's see. Here is, I don't know if I can find the same card, but this is the Tarot of the Moors by Gina Thies, and this is her Princess of Cups. So you can see these are scenes from different places in the world. The fall of Granada, because this is all about the Moors, so it takes place in Spain. So Spain and a little bit of an Arabic look to it, and some of the cards, but it's much more multicultural. And there are other ones that are coming out now. There's one I really like that I loaned to somebody, but it's all silhouettes, like we saw in that star card where we didn't actually see a person, the figure, we saw just the black, which is really cool because then you can put yourself in the picture. I hope I answered your question. Did I get it?
So I actually have a question, a request, if that's okay.
Sure.
To kind of illustrate how you use these tools to help free the voice. And I know that it's a very sacred time right now in allowing the female voice to be a little more prevalent, not to overtake the masculine voice, but just to restore balance. Is there a way that you could do, I don't know if you've ever done a group reading, like maybe like a 3-card spread on what everyone here can do to help find their voice, or invite the sacred feminine into their life through their voice?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Good
Yeah.
question. Okay.
Yeah, we could try that. Yeah. Let's organize ourselves here. Yeah, so if we all set our intention to find out how best we can activate our voices for the good of ourselves, our families, all our loved ones, and the world. They tend to fall out. I get a lot of jumping cards. Part of it is how I shuffle, but you want to come out. Okay. Oop. And do we have any final? Oh, yeah, there we do. We do. Oh my gosh. Cool. I like to pick like. There we go. Wait a minute. There's another one. All right. Well, we have a few more than we're supposed to have, but that's okay. Okay. So our first card that came out for all of us was this one. This is the Five of Wands. And the Five of Wands is normally thought of as a card of challenges. All fives tend to be challenges, because if the story goes from 1 to 10, 5's the middle. And you know what? The middle is where everything falls out in the story, right? Everything goes crazy. This way you can resolve it. So these people are working together, and this card is typically known as the ruler of strife. But back in the day when they were making up the names, they didn't mean strife like as in, really, really bad stuff. It meant earnest effort, which means practicing and networking, working with your sisters in your circle and helping to support each of them, and finding a way that you can use your voice to celebrate things. Even though right now we're going through a tough time, it's not easy to celebrate things, is it? It's not easy for me, but I need to find a way to do that. And these two people here, they're very happy. And the Four of Wands, it's all about celebration. A lot of times this will symbolize a wedding, because they're under the huppah or under an arbor. Yeah. So you find a way using your rhythm, because these are rhythm cards to me, right? So maybe you speak up, maybe you talk some more. Talk more amongst yourselves. Coffee clutch is a great idea. So keep that going, because your sisters are going to support you to get you to happier times. And believe it or not, you're really approaching the end. We're really near the end. Now this is known as a card of burdens and stress. And we as women, we got a lot of this stuff, because we're trying to take care of everybody. That's how we started this. I'm putting everybody first. And sometimes, you know what? You just got to gather everything up, all the stuff, whether you're decluttering or whatever it is, and just carry it out to the curb. And let it go. And your sisters are going to help you get there. So if you do that humming exercise that we did earlier, just pick your favorite note, whatever it is. Then turn it into an ah. That'll start clearing out the old gunk that's stuck. in your voice, in your heart. All these things you've been carrying for way too long. So that you can celebrate again. And someday we'll be able to do this in person. Yay! So this is about celebration. We got a lot of good celebrating things. But it's all about celebrating in groups. Because you notice only this person is by themselves so far. But this person, you as an individual, you have to let your things go by doing your voice exercises every day. And that's the thing people don't want to practice. But if you want to get good at anything, if you want to master anything, you have to practice it. Because if you want to be the empress of your life, you've got to put in the work. So this is the work. And the letting go. And channeling your feminine energy with your sisters in your circle. Even though times may be tough. And we may be far away from each other. We can still do these exercises together and come together, have fun, and be in the love. That's the sign of Venus on the heart. Venus, the goddess of love. And the Empress is the mother creation force of the universe.
Beautiful. What a gorgeous story you can tell with those cards, Kathleen. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's June, you have a question?
June has a question. Here you go, June.
Okay, if I came to you for a reading, or any one of us, how do you decide which group of cards you're going to use for our reading?
Okay. Well, it depends on what the question is, and sometimes I have a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one. Some people like the cards that are all women and all goddess archetypes. And these are all the women cards because they find that they can relate to them better. So whatever the client is drawn to is typically what I'll use. Yeah, unless I find that it's okay. Well, you know what? Certain decks are communicate to me differently. If that makes sense. Yeah. But I find that if people like the artwork, then they can relate to it better. So I like to try and give people an option. Because when I do readings, a lot of it is a dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And storytelling together. It's not a lot of cold reading. I mean, I do the stream of consciousness thing all the time, like I did when we were just talking and just pulling cards, out and going with it. But I find a lot of the time that if you talk to people while you're doing the reading and you have that two-way conversation, well, what do you see? What catches your attention? Because the message is for you. The message is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then how does this relate to your life? Like the voice in the card thing where you notice like what sticks out to you. I had a funny story about that. I got the Four of Swords, and it's probably too small there, but the Four of Swords has a stained glass window in it. And there's 3 people in the stained glass window. And what attracted me was this one shape, and it looked like a letter C. But the person was wearing puffy sleeves. So it was a very puffy kind of letter C, but that's what my eyes kept going back to. And it was a different color than everything else. And I couldn't figure out what it was. C? Oh, okay, I don't know. But anyway, my job was to just notice that thing, write it down, and then see what happened. Well, I didn't really have to wait very long because about 10 minutes later, my friend Laura called me. And she said, I'm going to have ladies' night at my house on Friday. We're doing Chinese. And I said, that's it. It looked like a fortune cookie. The little C is a puffy letter C, and it looked like a fortune cookie. So in my notes, I had actually written down fortune cookie, and I'm like, oh, you have to be kidding me. But that's how the universe works. So if you're looking at pictures that you would normally align to more than others, then that's kind of what we go with. Yeah. I have some other different types of divination that I also do. I have, of course, angel cards. I'm a certified angel card reader. I have Lenormand cards, which are, that's a whole other totally different system. I even have the magic teacups. So I don't want to spill it because I actually did put my water in it. But if anybody wants to do tea leaf reading, and then wherever your tea lands on the symbols, the different symbols mean different things.
So Kathleen, we had a question. June wrote in the chat box, how, if someone wants to make an appointment with you, how do they contact you?
Okay. Well, you can contact me through my my website, or you can give me a call. I know all of you, so I can give you all my number. I can type it in the chat. I also have a website. Kristen's gonna post the website information for you. And
Yeah, in the chat box in the beginning, if you scroll back, I've been kind of adding as she's gone along certain things. But in the beginning, her contact page, you can copy that if you guys want to take a moment to copy that. KathleenGubitosi.com/let's get started. That's how you can get on her mailing list. And then my Facebook business page is also a link there for her Facebook KG Voice Coach. So those are two ways you can get in touch. So if you want to, copy paste that if you're on your computer, or just write it down. And then once Jack does the video, the recording from today, at the end of the video, there'll also be Kathleen's information there.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So I don't know if June
Can you see it, June?
Yeah.
Well, I can see it now. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a little slow, you know.
That's all right. Yeah. And the phone number is 631 317 2890.
So that's in the chat as well now. 631-317-2890.
Yeah.
So that's Kathleen's phone number. So if you want to make an appointment. Now, is it always for voice? Is it sometimes just tarot? Is it a mix? It's just you chat and you find out what they need and you use your tools however you feel they need it?
I have music people who only want to do music and have no interest in metaphysics. I have people who only come to me for tarot readings. I have some people that come to me for Reiki, few and far between, but yeah. So it's really whatever people are open to. I have some voice students who also like using tarot and the color information to help open up their voices. So it's really whatever you want to do.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So we have.
I do a lot of Zoom. I did Zoom before Zoom was popular. So. So I do a lot of that. So social distancing isn't a problem.
Nice. Well, we have about 3 more minutes. Does anybody have one more quick question before we wrap up for Kathleen? Good.
Well, thank you all for being here. It was so nice to meet you all. Thank you. Thanks for sticking with me. I know I talked a lot.
Well, it's been very informative, Kathleen. I've just kind of touched on tarot in my, travels, but what a depth of knowledge you've brought to it. So thank you. And it takes, like you said, it has some stigma attached to it. So now it feels not so stigma-y.
Yeah. That's what I try for, because a lot of people are afraid, they don't want to try it, and it's like, well, the tarot is just a mirror of life. So I look at it as it's my job to kind of brighten it up. Not that there's not bad stuff that happens, but you know what? We're all women. We're all really strong. We can handle whatever life throws at us.
There you go.
So no reason to be afraid of a couple little cards.
Great. Well, thank you again for bringing all that wealth of knowledge and for sharing what you do and your story. And thank you everyone for showing up and making this possible by being here. Stay in touch. If you're not on the mailing list, I know, Margaret, we're getting you on the mailing list. You weren't on there before. And I just want to say thank you very much for joining us again on this episode of Share Your Spark with Kathleen Gubitosi. Hope to see you next time.